They said I ruined their perfect family. So when they needed me most, I showed them what real ruin looks like. I found out my sister was dying through a LinkedIn notification. Not a call, not a text, not even an email. Just an automated update that she'd started a GoFundMe for medical expenses. After 7 years of silence, that's how the Harpers decided to let me back into their world. Hi Reddit. I'm Maya, 26F, and I need to know if I'm the monster they always said I was, or if I finally gave them exactly what they deserved. Let me paint you a picture of what family meant in the Harper household. I was 11 when my mom remarried Richard Harper, a successful restaurant owner with 2 kids from his previous marriage, Sophia, then 13, and Marcus, then 9. Mom sold it to me like a fairy tale. You'll finally have the siblings you always wanted, she gushed while packing up our tiny apartment. Richard's going to give us the life we deserve. What she didn't mention was that I was walking into a carefully orchestrated performance where everyone already knew their roles, and mine was to be the understudy nobody wanted. The Harpers lived in a sprawling colonial in the suburbs, the kind with a circular driveway and those ridiculous lion statues flanking the entrance. Richard ran 3 upscale Italian restaurants and made sure everyone knew it. Every dinner party started with him pouring wine and saying, "This is from my personal collection at the flagship location." Sophia was the crown princess straight A's, violin prodigy headed for the Ivy League. Marcus was the baby, coddled and protected. My mother? She transformed overnight from the strong single mom I'd known into Richard's personal event planner, desperate to prove she belonged in his world. And me. I was the reminder of her past life, the mistake she'd made before finding her real family. The hierarchy was established through 1,000 small cruelties. Family portraits where I was positioned slightly behind everyone else. Vacations where I stayed with my grandmother because 5 plane tickets are just too expensive, sweetie. Christmas mornings where Sophia and Marcus opened MacBooks and designer clothes while I got gift cards to Target. But the real damage happened in private. Sophia had this way of making everything sound reasonable while gutting you. "Oh, Maya's using the guest bathroom because she's just more comfortable there," she'd tell visitors, failing to mention they'd locked me out of the main one. "Maya prefers eating in her room," she'd say, not adding that I wasn't welcome at family dinners when Richard's business partners came over. The first time I truly understood my place was about 3 months after we moved in. Richard was hosting a dinner for potential investors, and the house was buzzing with preparation. Mom had been cooking for 2 days, Sophia was practicing a violin piece to perform, and even Marcus had been coached on proper table manners. I offered to help serve, thinking it would show I was part of the team. Richard looked at me like I'd suggested setting the house on fire. "That won't be necessary," he said, not even glancing up from his wine selection. "In fact, it would be better if you made other plans for the evening." "But it's a school night," I protested. "Where would I go?" My mother appeared in the doorway, wringing her hands. "Maybe you could study at the library just this once?" That's when Sophia walked in, already dressed in her performance outfit. "Oh, are we finally telling her?" she asked with fake concern. "I mean, it makes sense. The Weatherbys are very particular about these things. They might get the wrong idea if they knew Mom had a daughter from before. Like I was some embarrassing medical condition she'd recovered from. I spent that night at a McDonald's, nursing a small fries until they closed. When I came home, the house smelled like expensive perfume and success. There were 3 plates in the sink. They hadn't even saved me leftovers. My mother saw it all and chose blindness. "Don't make waves," she'd whisper when I tried to talk to her. "We're lucky to be here. Richard didn't have to accept us. Like we were strays he'd taken in out of charity. School became my escape, but even that had complications. Sophia made sure everyone knew I was technically her stepsister, emphasizing the step part like it was a disease. She had this group of friends, all daughters of Richard's business associates, who treated me like I was invisible at best, contaminated at worst. "It must be so hard for Sophia," I once overheard her friend Madison saying. "Having to share her house with, well, you know." I knew. Everyone knew. I was the interloper, the reminder that the Harper family wasn't as perfect as they pretended to be, but I adapted. I learned to navigate their world like a ghost. I figured out which nights Richard worked late Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I could eat dinner in the kitchen instead of my room. I knew Sophia's schedule better than she did, timing my showers for when she was at violin practice. I became an expert at being invisible in my own home. The holidays were the worst. Richard's extended family would gather, and I'd watch them fuss over Sophia and Marcus while politely ignoring my existence. His mother, a severe woman who wore pearls to breakfast, once asked my mother, "And when is Maya returning to her father?" She doesn't have a father," my mother stammered. "He died when she was 2. "How unfortunate," the woman replied, looking at me like I was a stain on her antique tablecloth. Well, I suppose we all have our crosses to bear. I tried everything to fit in. Joined Sophia's debate team, she got me kicked off for not meeting standards. Offered to help at Richard's restaurants, he said I'd give the wrong impression to customers. Got straight A's myself, they accused me of copying Sophia's study methods. The restaurant incident particularly stung. I'd spent weeks preparing a proposal I'd taken a business class and created a whole social media strategy for his flagship location. I thought if I could prove my value to his business, maybe he'd see me as more than an unwanted expense. I presented it at dinner one night, complete with printed slides and market research. Richard flipped through it while eating, his face expressionless. "This is ambitious," he finally said. My heart soared. I could start immediately. I already have some content ideas. No, the word fell like a hammer. But you haven't even Maya. He set down his fork, fixing me with that cold stare I'd come to know so well. My restaurants have an image to maintain. That image doesn't include, well, it doesn't include advertising our complicated family situation. Surely you understand. Complicated family situation. That's what I was. Sophia smirked from across the table. Besides, Daddy already hired a professional firm, but it was sweet of you to try. Sweet. Like I was a toddler who'd drawn on the walls with crayon. The breaking point came during my senior year of high school. I'd been accepted to my dream college with a partial scholarship. I just needed help with the rest, maybe $5,000 a year. Richard spent that much on wine every month. I'll never forget that dinner. I'd prepared a whole presentation, printed out budgets, showed them how I'd work part-time to cover expenses. Richard didn't even look up from his plate. "We've already committed our education fund to Sophia's med school," he said, cutting into his veal. "And Marcus will need support for his undergrad. Maybe community college would be more realistic for you." My mother said nothing, just pushed food around her plate. Sophia smirked. "Community college isn't that bad. Lots of people from your background do really well there." My background, like I was some stranger who'd wandered in off the street. "What about the money from Dad's life insurance?" I asked desperately. "Mom, you said you were saving that for my education." The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's face went pale. Richard set down his wine glass with deliberate precision. "That money was absorbed into the family finances years ago," he said coolly. "Your mother and I made that decision together, for the good of the family." The family, not my family, the family. That night I heard them talking in Richard's study. The door was cracked and their voices carried. "She's becoming a problem," Richard said. "Always wanting more, always trying to insert herself where she doesn't belong." "She's my daughter," my mother replied weakly. "No, she's your responsibility. There's a difference. Sophia and Marcus are our children. Maya is an obligation, and obligations have expiration dates." "Richard, please, she's trying so hard. That's exactly the problem. The trying, the constant need for validation, for inclusion. It's exhausting, Patricia, and frankly, it's affecting the other children." Sophia says she's been copying her study methods, trying to compete. "Maybe because she wants to impress you? I don't want to be impressed. I want peace in my own home. We agreed when we married that Maya would be your project. I've been more than generous: private school, a roof over her head, food, clothing. But I won't sacrifice my children's futures for your past mistakes." Past mistakes. That's what I was reduced to. A mistake. 3 weeks later, they found a reason to kick me out. Said I'd stolen money from Richard's wallet. I hadn't. Said I was creating a toxic environment for their real children. The accusation came out of nowhere. I came home from my shift at the bookstore to find them all sitting in the living room like some kind of intervention. Richard's wallet was on the coffee table, bills spread out like evidence. $200, he said without preamble. "Gone." "I didn't take anything," I said immediately. Sophia was examining her nails. "I saw you near Dad's study this morning. I was getting my laptop charger. It was plugged in there." "How convenient," Richard said. "And I suppose you have no idea how money just disappears whenever you're around." "What are you talking about?" I've never taken anything. The fundraiser money from Marcus's soccer team, Sophia chimed in. $20 went missing from the envelope. That was 3 months ago, and I wasn't even home that weekend. Enough, Richard stood up. I won't have a thief living under my roof. You're 18 now. It's time you learned about consequences. My mother stood there while Richard handed me $500 and told me to figure it out. You're 18, he said. Time to take responsibility for yourself. I looked at my mother one last time. She turned away. Mom, I pleaded, you know I didn't do this, you know me. She finally met my eyes, and what I saw there broke something inside me. She knew I was innocent, but she'd made her choice long ago, and it wasn't me. Maybe this is for the best, she whispered. You'll be stronger for it. Stronger. Like being homeless at 18 was some kind of character-building exercise. Marcus, who'd been silent until then, finally spoke up. Where's she supposed to go? That's not our concern anymore, Richard said firmly. Maya's an adult. She'll figure it out. I packed what I could carry. 7 years of my life crammed into 2 duffel bags and a backpack. Sophia watched from her doorway, that satisfied smile playing at her lips. You know, she said quietly as I passed, I almost feel sorry for you, almost. Why? I asked, though I shouldn't have. Because you actually thought you belonged here, how embarrassing. So I left. Couch surfed with friends, worked 3 jobs, put myself through community college, then transferred to a state school, graduated with honors, got a job in cybersecurity, built a life without them. The first few weeks were the hardest. My friend Jamie let me crash on her couch, but her parents were getting suspicious. I picked up extra shifts at the bookstore and added 2 more jobs cleaning offices at night and weekend work at a coffee shop. I saved every penny, eating ramen and peanut butter sandwiches, washing my clothes in gas station bathrooms when I couldn't afford the laundromat. Some nights I slept in my car, an old Honda I'd bought with my bookstore earnings. I'd park in 24-hour Walmart lots, layer all my clothes for warmth, and study by the light of my phone until the battery died. I applied for every scholarship, every grant, every work-study program I could find. Community college was my lifeline. The professors there had seen students like me before, kids who'd been thrown away, discarded by the people who were supposed to protect them. My computer science professor, Dr. Martinez, noticed me falling asleep in class and pulled me aside. You working nights? She asked. I nodded, too exhausted to lie. I might have something better. My husband's company needs part-time help with data entry, better pay, regular hours, and you can do some of it remotely. That job changed everything. Stable income meant a room in a shared apartment, a real bed. A desk where I could study without worrying about being kicked out of the library. I threw myself into learning. Coding became my escape, a world where logic ruled and effort was rewarded. I taught myself languages the curriculum didn't cover, built projects that caught the attention of my professors. When it came time to transfer to a 4-year school, I had my pick of programs. I changed my last name back to my father's Chen. Blocked them all on everything. As far as they knew, I'd vanished into whatever gutter they assumed I belonged in. 7 years. That's how long I managed to keep them out of my life. 7 years of building, growing, becoming someone they'd never recognize. I specialized in cybersecurity, drawn to the idea of protecting systems from threats, of building walls that couldn't be breached. The irony wasn't lost on me. My job at a tech firm started at entry level, but I climbed fast. Turns out, when you've spent your whole life studying people who want to hurt you, you get pretty good at anticipating attacks. By year 5, I was leading my own team, making more money than I'd ever dreamed of. I dated carefully, trusting slowly. I made friends who knew nothing about the Harpers, who liked me for who I was now, not who I'd been forced to be. I went to therapy, unpacking years of gaslighting and emotional abuse. I learned words for what they'd done: scapegoating, narcissistic abuse, parentification. I built a life, a good one, a real one, until that LinkedIn notification. The GoFundMe was titled, Help Sophia Harper Fight Rare Blood Disease. The goal was $500,000. They'd raised $12,000 in 3 months. I stared at the screen for a long time. Sophia's face looked different, thinner, older, without the smug confidence I remembered. The description was vague but dramatic, full of medical terms and emotional pleas. Richard had written it. I could tell by the pompous language and subtle digs at the healthcare system. Our beloved daughter Sophia has always been a fighter, it read. From her early days as a violin prodigy to her promising medical career, she has brought light to everyone around her. Now she needs our help to fight the battle of her life. Beloved daughter. The words sat like acid in my stomach. I did what any cybersecurity professional would do. I investigated. And what I found was interesting. The restaurants were gone. All three shuttered during COVID and never reopened. Richard had apparently made some spectacularly bad investments trying to expand right before the pandemic. The house was in foreclosure. My mother was working as a receptionist at a dental office. Public records told a story of slow-motion disaster. The flagship restaurant had been sued by employees for unpaid wages. The second location had failed a health inspection so badly it made the local news. The third had burned down under suspicious circumstances, insurance claim denied. Richard had tried to pivot to food delivery, burning through investors' money on an app that never launched. He'd taken out personal loans against the house, maxed out credit lines, even liquidated his wine collection. The man who once sneered at my community college dreams was now bankrupt in all but name. But here's where it gets really good: Sophia's illness. Real but treatable. The experimental treatment they were fundraising for, not FDA approved because there were already effective alternatives. They needed the money, but not for medical bills. I dug deeper. Sophia had been diagnosed with a rare but manageable autoimmune condition. The standard treatment had an excellent success rate and was covered by insurance. The experimental treatment they were pushing was offered by a clinic in Switzerland known for separating desperate rich people from their money. They were broke, desperate, and they were using Sophia's diagnosis as a cash grab. I found Marcus's Instagram, set to public because of course it was. The boy who'd once worn designer everything was now posting motivational quotes about grinding and hustling. His bio listed him as an entrepreneur and investor, but his photos were all taken in what looked like a studio apartment. The comments on his posts were brutal apparently. He'd burned through a lot of friendships along with the family money. My mother had no social media presence, but I found her LinkedIn. Receptionist at a dental office, like I'd discovered. But before that, a gap of 2 years. She'd gone from event coordinator at Harper Hospitality Group to nothing to answering phones for $15 an hour. I sat on this information for days. Part of me wanted to just keep scrolling, let them drown in the mess they'd created. But another part, the part that spent years in therapy dealing with their rejection, wanted them to know I'd seen their fall. So I created a new email, professional, clean, and I reached out to my mother. I saw Sophia's fundraiser. We should talk. She responded within an hour. The desperation bled through every word. Maya, is this really you? Oh my God, I've thought about you every day. Please, can we meet? Sophia is very sick and we're struggling. I know you have every right to hate us, but she's your sister, please. Your sister. After 7 years, suddenly Sophia was my sister. 3 days later, I met her at a coffee shop. She looked older, defeated. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by off-the-rack professional where that didn't quite fit right. Her hair, once perfectly styled weekly at expensive salons, showed gray roots and split ends. Maya, she breathed when she saw me. You look wonderful. I did look wonderful. Success suited me better than desperation ever had. I sat down without hugging her. You need money? She flinched. It's not like that. Sophia is sick, with a condition that has standard treatment options covered by insurance, I interrupted. But Richard's too proud to declare bankruptcy, isn't he? So you're using her illness as cover. Her face crumbled. You don't understand. We've lost everything. The restaurants, the house, our savings. Richard had a stroke last year, the stress. He can barely work, and Sophia. What about Sophia? She was supposed to be a doctor. Had to drop out of med school when we couldn't pay. She's not handling it well. The diagnosis was almost a relief. It gave her something else to focus on besides our failure. And Marcus? Rehab, 3rd time, started using when the money ran out. He blamed himself. Said if he'd been smarter, more like Sophia, maybe Richard wouldn't have lost everything trying to expand. The perfect Harper family reduced to rubble. I should have felt satisfaction. Instead, I felt empty. Why reach out to me? I asked finally. You made it very clear I wasn't family. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Because you're the only one who made it out. The only one who actually became something without Richard's money. There it was, not an apology, not remorse, just pragmatism. I was useful now, so suddenly I existed again. Do you know what I did the first week after you threw me out? I asked conversationally. I slept in a park, got chased out by cops at 3 a.m., spent the next night in an all-night laundromat until they kicked me out too. She winced. Maya, I got food poisoning from eating out of a dumpster behind a restaurant, not one of Richard's, ironically. Spent 2 days sick in a gas station bathroom, thought I might actually die there. No one to call, no one who cared. Please, but the worst part, I still had hoped you'd come looking for me, that you'd realize it was all a mistake. I checked my phone obsessively for weeks, sure you'd call, sure you'd choose me just once. Tears were streaming down her face now. I wanted to, I did, but Richard's not here now, I observed. Where is he, by the way? Home. He doesn't know I'm here. He'd be furious if he knew I'd contacted you. Still controlling you even from his sickbed. Some things never change. I pulled out my phone and showed her my bank balance. Not to brag, but to make a point. 6 figures, more than enough to solve their problems. Her eyes widened. Maya, I know we don't deserve, you're right, you don't. I put my phone away. But I'll make you a deal. I'll cover Sophia's legitimate medical expenses. The real ones, not the inflated fundraiser nonsense. In exchange, you tell her the truth, all of it. How you stood by while they treated me like garbage. How you chose them over your own daughter. How you let a rich man convince you I was worthless. She's sick. She's getting better. The standard treatment has a 90% success rate. She'll be fine. The question is whether she'll be fine knowing what kind of people raised her. My mother's hands shook. That would destroy her. No, I said, standing up. Lies destroy people. Trust me, I'm an expert on that. I started to leave, then turned back. You know what the ironic part is? If you just loved me just a little bit, I would have shared everything with you. The success, the money, the life I built. I would have taken care of all of you, even Richard. That's the kind of person I was before you taught me better. I left her there and waited. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Sophia. Her voice was different, hollow, uncertain. Gone was the confident sneer, the casual cruelty. She sounded young, lost, afraid. Mom told me everything, she said. I didn't know. I mean, I knew, but I didn't. I was just a kid. You were old enough to call me Charity Case at your sweet 16, I reminded her. Old enough to lie about me stealing. Old enough to watch them throw me out and laugh. Silence. Then, I'm sorry. I don't forgive you, I said simply, but I'll pay for your treatment. The real treatment through proper channels. No GoFundMe, no scamming sympathetic strangers. Why? Because I'm not you. I don't kick people when they're down. Even people who deserve it. I don't understand. We were horrible to you. I was horrible. Yes, you were, but you're also sick and desperate and broken. I know what that feels like. The difference is I'll help you, the same way no one helped me. She started crying then, ugly sobs that made me uncomfortable. I ruined everything. My whole life I thought I was better than you. Dad made me believe. God, I was so stupid. You were what they raised you to be, I said, surprising myself with the neutrality in my voice. A weapon aimed at anyone who threatened their perfect image. How do you not hate me? Oh, I do hate you, all of you, but hate is exhausting and I've got better things to do with my energy. This isn't forgiveness, Sophia, it's pity. The treatment cost $30,000. I paid it directly to the hospital. Sophia recovered fully, just like the statistics predicted, but the family didn't recover. Richard couldn't handle the truth coming out. When my mother finally told him she'd contacted me, he exploded. I heard about it secondhand from Sophia, who called me in tears. He said Mom betrayed the family, that bringing you back into our lives was the final insult. He's leaving, moving in with his brother in Florida. How do you feel about that? I asked, genuinely curious. Relieved, she admitted. Is that terrible? I'm relieved my father is leaving. He was never much of a father to begin with. He was to me, at least I thought he was, but now I see it was all conditional. The love, the support, all of it. The second I got sick became a burden instead of a trophy. Welcome to my world. Marcus heard about the money I'd paid and called me, begging for rehab funds. His voice was slurred, desperate. Please, Maya, I know I don't deserve it, but I'm dying here. I can't do this anymore. State-funded programs, I said. I'll send you a list. They're good programs, but there's usually a waiting list. I can't wait. I need help now. You help Sophia. Sophia has a medical condition. You have choices to make. There's a difference. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed, actually laughed. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when you called me the guest for 7 years? Was it fair when you got a car for your 16th birthday while I got kicked out on my 18th? I was a kid. So was I. I gave him the information for state programs and hung up. He called back 6 times. I didn't answer. My mother sends me emails sometimes. Long, rambling things about how sorry she is, how she thinks about me every day, how she prays I'll forgive her. They're all the same me, her pain, her guilt, her suffering, never once acknowledging what her choices cost me. I finally replied to one, just once. Patricia, you say you're sorry, but you're not, you're sad. There's a difference. Sorry means you understand what you did and take responsibility. Sad means you don't like the consequences. You're sad that your husband left. You're sad that your bio kids are struggling. You're sad that the lifestyle you sold me for is gone, but you're not sorry you chose them over me. You'd do it again if Richard took you back. We both know it. Stop writing? She didn't stop. I set up a filter to send her emails straight to trash. Sophia tried to reconnect once more, 6 months after her recovery. Sent me a letter about how she was working as a medical assistant now, how she understood what it was like to struggle, how she finally saw me as a sister. The letter was long, filled with revelations about her childhood that were supposed to make me sympathetic. How Richard had put so much pressure on her to be perfect, how she'd been terrified of disappointing him, how she'd targeted me because it was safer than risking his disapproval. I see now that we were both victims, she wrote, just in different ways. I got the golden cage, you got the cold shoulder. Neither of us got real love. I sent it back unopened. That door closed when I was 18, standing on their porch with a garbage bag full of clothes and nowhere to go. But she was persistent. A month later, another letter arrived. This time, I read it. I know you sent the last one back, but I need you to know something. The treatment worked. I'm healthy, I'm working, I'm surviving. And it's because of you, not just the money, the wake-up call. You showed me what real strength looks like. Not the fake strength Dad taught me built on stepping on others. Real strength. Building yourself up from nothing. So thank you. Even if you never speak to me again, thank you for showing me who I don't want to be anymore. I almost responded to that one. Almost. But what would be the point? Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. They're meant to stay burned, a reminder of why you don't go back to places that tried to destroy you. Here's the thing about revenge, it's not as satisfying as you think it'll be. Watching them fall apart didn't heal my wounds. Paying for Sophia's treatment didn't make me the bigger person. It just made me someone with money and boundaries. But you know what? I'm okay with that. They taught me that family was conditional, that love had a price tag, that I was disposable. They were wrong about everything except that last part, I was disposable. To them, but I disposed of them first. Cut them out like a tumor and built something better in the space they left behind. The last update I got was from a mutual acquaintance who didn't know our history. Richard's in Florida, working as a restaurant consultant, which is apparently what failed restaurateurs call themselves. Still arrogant, still bitter, still blaming everyone but himself for his failures. Marcus got into a state program eventually. Don't know if he stuck with it. Don't really care. Recovery only works if you want it more than you want to blame others for your problems. My mother still works at the dental office. Lives in a 1-bedroom apartment. Still sends emails I don't read. Still playing the victim, I assume. And Sophia? Working, surviving, maybe even growing. Learning what it's like to not be the golden child, to not have everything handed to you. Maybe she'll become a decent person. Maybe not. Either way, it's not my problem. So Reddit, did I go too far? Should I have just ignored the GoFundMe and let them figure it out? Or did I do exactly what needed to be done, showed them mercy they never showed me, but on my terms? Because here's the truth, I didn't save Sophia out of kindness. I saved her to show them what they threw away. A daughter who could have loved them, who would have done anything for a real family, who became successful despite their best efforts to break her. They wanted me to disappear, to prove they were right about me all along. Instead, I became their safety net, the one they never thought they'd need, and then I cut the strings and walked away. Again. This time, by choice. Let me know what you think. Was I justified? Did I handle this right? Because sometimes I lie awake at night wondering if I became exactly what they said I was: cold, calculating, unforgiving. Or maybe I just became what they made me. A survivor who knows the difference between family and people who happen to share your address. Either way, I'm at peace with it. They're out of my life for good now. No more surprise emails, no more fundraisers, no more pretending we were ever anything more than strangers living in the same house. The Harpers wanted a perfect family. They got it, just not the way they planned. And me. I learned that sometimes the best family is the one you build yourself, out of friends who show up and chosen siblings who see your worth. Blood might be thicker than water, but it's amazing how quickly it washes away when the money runs out. My chosen family now includes my mentor, Dr. Martinez, who still checks in on me, my best friend, Jamie, whose couch saved my life, my partner, Alex, who knows this whole story and loves me not despite it, but because it made me who I am, my team at work who'd go to bat for me any day. These people, they show up. They celebrate my wins and support me through losses. They don't keep score or hold their love hostage. They just love. No conditions, no fine print, no expiration date. Thanks for reading. If you made it this far, you're a real one. And if you've got similar stories about chosen family versus birth family, I'd love to hear them in the comments. Because at the end of the day, we all deserve people who want us around not because they have to, but because they can't imagine their lives without us. The Harpers taught me that, just not the way they intended. Update coming soon about what happened when Richard tried to sue me for emotional damages. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well for him. Hit that follow button if you want to see that update. And remember, you can't choose your birth family, but you can absolutely choose to walk away. Peace out, Reddit. And to anyone reading this who's trapped in a toxic family situation, it gets better, but only after you get out. Let me know in the comments if you want that update. If this post gets enough traction, I'll spill the tea on Richard's lawsuit and how my cybersecurity background came in very handy. Until then, remember, the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's building a life so good they become irrelevant.